love it all in the same night. Baby, why don't you hold me closer? Don't let me go. Drink of your potion. It's what I need. Oh, na 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 na.
I like what I see. I want you for me. Can't take you back home, but it's not that type of thing. But I just might give in, call you up at a late time. On me, hate the games that I play right. Find love, lose it all in the same night.
Baby, why don't you hold me closer? Don't let me go. Drink of your potion. It's what I need. Oh, na 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 na. You stay on my brain, on my mind. With you the stars stay aligned. Where will our thoughts lead tonight? I just want you to hold me. I don't want you to let me go. Feel so good cause you know me. I'll make time, boy, just let me know.
Say no more, girl, just telling me back in the morning. Raising the temperature on me, yeah. Want you the way that you want me. No lie, now put that on me, yeah. Falling. Once a month is not enough. Body calling. Ain't nobody gotta say what you gon' do. Falling. Once a week is not enough. I can hear your body calling. Don't nobody understand what we gon' do.
Hold me closer. Don't let me go. Drink of your potion. It's what I need. Oh, na 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 na
Hi, Steph Boogie.
Hey, Toya.
How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm very happy to be here.
Me too. Let me back up a little bit. Because, you know, every now and again, it give me a little like, how we looking? How you doing? Let me see. Are you in it? Okay. How you feeling? Do you think you look good?
Girl, stop. I always look good.
Okay. Well, welcome. Welcome to the Analog Girls Facebook Live series. We are celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month, and what better person to talk about emotional health and emotional baggage than Stefanie, the life architect. And I'm just so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy you said yes.
Thank you. Well, listen, Toya, when you call, I answer. I tell you this all the time. Like, we've known each other for like decades, not years, like decades. So
yeah, it is. It has been a long time. It has been. I feel like since we was like 12 years old, 12, 11, 12.
Oh, yes, it's double digits. Young, dumb, running the streets, having fun.
Yep.
Skating. Yeah, girl, I loved us some skating time. Running to rice parties in Harlem. You know,
rice parties. We had such a good time at the rice parties.
Yeah, and every time I speak of you, and you could ask anybody who knows us or who has heard me speak of you, I say LaToya for me is the person that no matter how long the duration is that we haven't seen each other or spoken, you're not that person that holds me hostage to, girl, where you been? You're not a real friend. We haven't seen each other. It could be 5 years, 1 month, or 1 week, and literally we will pick right back up.
Absolutely.
And I love that about you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I love that about you too. And every time we pick right back up, we be laughing hysterically like it never happened. And same for Nick too. You know what I mean? It's the same for Nick. You guys have been very much a staple in my life. And I, never forget the friendship and the closeness that we had growing up. And that'll never go away.
Thank you. I agree. Formative years, girl. Formative
years, honey. Because, we was out here thotting and biting and having a good time.
Having a good old messy time.
So outside of us thotting and biting, you have become a life coach, a good one too as well, a well-known life coach out here. You've been featured in places, in articles on Instagram, on people's websites, and even the girl who did my makeup, a makeup artist, Janae, I think her name. Yes, she spoke really, really good about, or really well about you and your techniques and how you really helped her along the way. So what got you into doing life coaching? What led you there?
Well, you're one of the people, little do you know, you're one of the people who inspired me to do so. I was talking to you about 10 years ago. I don't know if you remember this conversation. And I was telling you how someone was saying that they thought that I thought that I was so deep.
Oh.
That I always had something inspiring and uplifting to say. And it was always at the time that she didn't want to hear it. And you looked right at me. You was like, well, then she don't really know you. Because even when we were getting high on the staircases in the projects, you would always jump in even high and be like, well, what do you think about life and what is going on? You are always that person who would dissect some things, whether we wanted to hear it, understood it or not. And you just reminded me in that moment that this is who I am.
Yeah.
And I am a righteous ratchet queen, and that's okay.
Right? It's okay to be ratchet and hood. I love it.
I am self-proclaimed righteous ratchet queen, and you.
My best friend. My best friend is in the building.
My best friend, Toya. So yes, conversations like that were roadmaps for me to guide me to becoming a certified life coach. I am a girl who dropped out of school and got a GED, and I never went to college. So I thought that any type of self-help profession wasn't in the cards for me. Okay. And one day my mentor at my old job was like, listen, you're a case manager here. Everyone comes to you. All of the students send flowers and, do things for you that they don't do for any other case manager. And I hope you realize that you have a skill. Though you didn't go to college and you're not a therapist. She's like, try to find some other way to do what you do and do well. You hold this office together, you hold people together, and you do it effortlessly. Enter Iyanla Van Sant. That's when I really first started hearing about life coaching. Like, well, what is this? So I just did my Googles, and I got online, and I tried to find a reputable source so that I can get some credentials. And I just ended up taking the course and got certified. I honestly, that imposter syndrome in me didn't believe that I could do anything with it.
Right.
It was just enough for me to have something. Right. At first. And then people were like, well, how much would you charge if I booked you? And I was just like, I don't know. I never even thought about it. Again, imposter syndrome told me that it was just going to be, you get certified and that was enough. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to doing my own work and going to therapy for myself. Mm-hmm. I realized that it was imposter syndrome. I realized that I was self-sabotaging and I did have what it takes. So I got me a Canva. I got me
Canva works for everybody.
Girl, I got me on Canva. I got me a price list together. I looked at my competitors to see what they were charging. I spoke to my professor, who was the person who, taught us through certification. And I just really started to build my self-esteem around this. Mm-hmm. Not having an education is a sore spot for me. It made me feel like I wasn't enough, no matter how many times people told me that I was. So that's something I had to work through. And fast forward, here we are.
And doing really well. You keep your content consistent. I really don't keep my content consistent. Yours, girl, I be looking and I see your newsletter all the time. Sometimes I'll even hit you like, girl, this newsletter was good. I like this. But I don't, I'm not really as good as you with that and consistency. So you've been really good with the consistency. So delving right in, we're just gonna talk about some emotional baggage, emotional health, the importance of emotional health. We also gonna talk some fun stuff, what you watching, what's going on in the world. How's your quarantine life been, actually? And excuse me, I'm gonna pour me some wine because it's been that kind of day.
Yes.
I'm sorry, y'all. I need wine, but go ahead. So how's your
starting off rough? I mean, I woke up and saw Andre Harrell and Little Richard had passed away.
Yes, that's why I'm like, wine it is tonight.
It wasn't even 10 a.m. and here we go with some more death, right? My quarantine life has been a roller coaster. I have been home since March 13th.
Okay.
I was home a little bit earlier than the average person. So at first I was like, great, I'm gonna be home, I'm gonna work out, all these unrealistic expectations that I was putting on myself quickly was like, absolutely not. You're gonna be a couch potato, you're gonna be on your laptop all day working, and you're gonna emotionally eat. So that's what I did for the first 2 months of the quarantine. And now I'm just starting to get my rhythm back. I'm starting to feel like, I don't have to put pressure on myself to have any day look like anyone else's day.
Yep.
I don't have to compare myself to what other people are doing on Instagram or in my life.
Right.
So right now I'm just like looking at the 6 pounds I've gained. And I'm deciding.
I don't even know what I gained. You good, girl. I'm not even looking at this.
Girl, I got on the scale the other day because I tried to put on jeans, something with no elasticity. And I was like, what's happening here? So yeah, just assessing, like, what do I want to do today, and not putting pressure on myself to do everything that everyone else is doing or whatever I think I should be doing. So it's been interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Well, same here. I mean, you're lucky. You got a boo. You got a hubby. Mine's, everybody knows, I ain't gonna keep repeating this shit, but everybody knows, you know what I mean? I am, I'm single. I'm here. LaFon's left. He went down to the 7-Eleven, and then he never came back with the big go. You know what I mean? So I'm just still waiting on LaFon's to come back. But other than that, same. I've been in the house since March 12th. So I only watch on the Facebook app. You can watch on Facebook or you can watch on YouTube. Yes. If you have to find Analog Girl Podcast on YouTube, and it's live on YouTube too. So, but yeah, other than that, I've just been doing in here trying to create content and just trying to stay sane. It's really hard to stay sane, and then also maintaining your mental health through all of this. So what's the importance of our emotional health at this time, and how have you been able to process it, and how have you been able to help your clients process?
It's been so important for me not to maintain my emotional health, like give myself permission to just be on some, it's whatever. Like release myself from being okay, because this is an unprecedented situation, right? So acting as if it is unprecedented is okay. I feel like there's a lot of toxic positivity going on. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. God's going to work it out. Yes, right. We know God can work things out, but we are realistic in this moment. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm not scared. I'm not going to pretend that my emotions are all over the place and they're not complicated. I'm not going to pretend that 1 minute I'm fine and the next minute I'm not. So for me, my emotional health has been something that I'm not putting pressure on. If I feel okay today or in this moment, great. If I don't, that's fine too. And I think a lot of people need to release that pressure to be okay in a situation that is not okay.
Right. Right. And I mean, this is not okay. And we all keep saying this, that no one knows what the hell is going on. We've never been through this shit before. So, it's like we don't know what's going on. So the only thing we can do is just be like, I have no idea. I'm just going to try to get through the days the best way we know how. On top of that, I'm still dealing, and a lot of people are still dealing with, we're going to therapy and we have traumas that we're trying to process, and we're trying to become entrepreneurs and do all this stuff amid crisis. So what are some tools that we can do, and how can we exercise these areas in our lives and still be in a crisis? How have you been able to do it?
Well, I've been able to do that because I understand what emotional baggage is, right? Like you have to know what it is for you to be able to process and root it up. A lot of us don't understand that we can't ever get through anything because we're cutting the leaves, so to speak, off, but we never uproot anything from the ground. Right? So it'll keep growing back because its roots are still there. So understanding that emotional baggage is just unprocessed emotions from a past situation or something else. Did everybody get that? Emotional baggage is just unprocessed emotions. That means there's something paused. That means there's something that can't get through. There's a blockage of some sort. So you have to identify what emotional baggage is before you can even release it, because how can you release something that you don't know what it is, right? So once you identify what emotional baggage is, then you have to start getting nuanced and layered with it. Okay, so I have unprocessed emotions. About what?
Right.
About what? What are they? What are they doing? Where did they come from? You got to start to peel those onion layers away. It's called doing the work. I didn't invent that phrase. You didn't invent that phrase. We hear that often, but that's what that means. Peeling those onion layers away and actually getting to the root of things. So that's how you can start releasing emotional baggage.
Okay, so do you find that with emotional baggage, sometimes, I mean, for me, baggage always sounds negative.
Yeah.
So do you think emotional baggage is toxic? And, you know, can we work through and talk through some of that? Because there are people who might feel a little apprehensive of talking about emotional baggage in that way, because it's like, I'm not toxic. This is not, you know, this is not me. I don't have baggage. And I feel like we all have some sort of baggage. Absolutely. Our parents ain't do the perfect. Nobody's parents did 100% perfect job. Nobody's parents did that. So, from the time of birth to the time to however old you are right now, you've gone through some sort of emotional trauma,
right?
And then that leaves some sort of baggage. So, do you think that it is toxic a little bit still, or is it just a way of life?
I think it's just a way of life, because you said it well. Everyone has emotional baggage. Baggage is just, again, unprocessed emotion. So if you just change how you word it, it might not seem negative to you. And you're allowed to do that. It's an unprocessed emotion. So if I don't want to call it baggage, I'm going to call it an unprocessed emotion, because that's exactly what it is. Now, we all have to be clear. I have baggage. You have baggage. Everybody on this live has baggage. Some of our baggage is designer. My baggage is Louis Vuitton, Toya. My baggage is Goucher. Okay?
Yeah.
We dress it up really nice. We beat that face. We arch these brows. You know, we suck it in. We waist train it. You know, we liposuction it away. We suck it away. We drink it away. My baggage is designer. Yours might be in a brown paper bag, but we all got baggage. So I do understand making the wording sounding negative and toxic, which toxic is a saturated word right now. Everybody wants to label everything toxic.
Yes.
Instead of really getting to the root of what it is. If it means unprocessed emotions, don't label it as negative. It's just an unprocessed emotion. Now, what you do with that unprocessed emotion, that's where the toxicity can come in, because if you know it's unprocessed and you know you're not doing anything to open that Louis Vuitton duffel and take some of that shit out, then that's where the toxicity comes in.
Yeah. So what about people who just don't necessarily know that they have emotional baggage? They just walking around blindly. How do you get that message to that person? Okay, I think you're dealing with some emotional baggage here that you don't want to kind of process, or you're in denial about. Right. How does one get to a person that has that issue of not attacking or unpacking that situation?
Well, most people come to me about it because there's something that they feel that they can't get together. So I often tell people, if you're the common denominator in a situation or in situations that you feel are not working well, so if you're constantly arguing with your sons, your daughters, you and your friends are falling out, you and your coworkers are falling out, if you are the common denominator, or if you're always feeling like the victim somewhere, not saying that you aren't being victimized, but if you feel like there's a constant sense of discord in your life, I often tell people that there's possibly emotional baggage that's showing up as your language, right? We all have trauma language. We all speak, move, act, talk, and walk with some part of our emotional baggage if we do not unpack it. So often I tell people, look at the source of your life that's causing the most contention. If it's more than one place or the same place over and over and over again, most likely that's an unprocessed situation with unprocessed emotions, i.e. emotional baggage.
Okay. Well, I think I've definitely got a whole lot of emotional baggage and triggers. My trigger is always feeling like I'm ignored. Like, so if someone don't text me back right away, girl, and it don't matter who it is, I will feel away.
Now, it's like you said, no matter who it is. So girl, guy, friend,
whomever,
coworker, anybody.
And coworkers, I don't care. But people who I care about, like if I don't hear back from them, or I feel like, there's some sort of distancing or something, I immediately go inward and be like, well, this person is ignoring me. So, what is it about me? And that is my emotional baggage. And that's one of the things that's just been really hard for me to break and try to figure out. But I know that once I break that, then I think that I'm just I feel like I'm gonna be a whole brand new person. You know what I mean? But I struggle with thinking, am I a toxic person? So that's good to know that it's not necessarily a toxicity. You know what I mean? Like it's just things that I've gone through and I've just not been able to just really process a lot.
What makes it toxic is that you know it, right? You're aware of it. So if you know it and you're aware of it, yet you don't care and you keep putting that on everyone, right? You keep bleeding over on people who never cut you. That's what makes it toxic. Not that it's there. It's clearly there because someone instilled that in you. When you go back to little Toya, who didn't feel enough, little Toya who was ignored, little Toya who wasn't recognized, right? That's who's coming up every time she doesn't get the answer on that text, right? It's little Toya, right? So it's not even present Toya, because I often tell people that we are children wrapped in adult flesh, essentially, right? Life is like one big high school lunchroom. It's the jocks, the cool kids. You know, Instagram is now that. Social media is now the big high school lunchroom, and you're just trying to see where you fit in. Right. And all it is our little Stefanies, little Toyas, and little everyone's who's on this call showing up and speaking for us when those triggers are triggered, right? So what makes it toxic is you know it's your trigger. You know for a fact that it's not about the person not texting you back. You know it's little Toya, but you don't care. You still are like, I'm going to give them the venom as if they are the root of this problem, as if they are my father, as if they are my mother, as if
yes.
That's what makes you a toxic person. When I don't care that you didn't cut me, I'm going to emotionally bleed all over you, and you just going to have to deal with it. That's when the toxicity comes in.
Or the shutting down, which is also toxic too in itself.
Yeah. So. Well, some of it is self-preservation. So we have we have to understand that shutting down is not always the wrong thing.
Okay.
Right? Because sometimes I have to shut down to assess and recalibrate, or I'm gonna bite your fucking head off. Right?
And that's a fact.
Let's be real.
Fact, yes.
Sometimes I have to remove myself, not because of you, but because of what I'm going to do to you, and you didn't deserve it. Right. So I have to move myself back. And if that is shutting down, then I will shut down. And hopefully when I regain my composure, you will forgive me when I apologize and actually say that I'm sorry. Not say my bad, not say I apologize. Because when you say I apologize, when you're asking for forgiveness, you're saying that I am going to do the act of apologizing. You need to say the words that I am sorry for abandoning you when I could not have the dialogue that you needed in the moment, but it wasn't about you. It was about me removing myself from the situation and hurting you further.
Oh my God, this is good. I should have just wrote all that down. I have to go back and write all that down. I find that it's really hard for me to apologize outside after I've shut down. And I revert to, well, I'm sorry, that's just me. You know what I'm saying? And I usually shut down when I'm feeling like, you know what I mean? Instead of like me saying, I apologize for that. And moving forward, I'll try to do better. So now I need to that's another thing on my list for me to add to.
Well, girl, the list is always going to grow because whatever doesn't grow dies, right? So every time we think we got somewhere on our emotional health scale, it's going to be something else added to it. You're going to be like, I'm tired. I thought I was growing. No, you are growing. So you already removed something from your emotional health plate. So now it's time to see something else. And I just want to go back to what you said about forgiveness.
Say hi to Jean. She in here to my hi, Danny.
Is that Mama Jean? Hi, Mama Jean.
You don't need to. These lives are going to be on YouTube on the Analog Girl podcast page and on Facebook for anybody who wants to go back, because she is dropping these gems, y'all. I see y'all in the comments. But okay, so go ahead.
You have to go back to your relationship with forgiveness. So you said it was hard for you to forgive people, right?
And it's hard for me to forgive, and it's hard for me to apologize.
Yeah. So how often will you apologize to? Like, I asked that question because we have to go back again to the root. I'm going to keep bringing up the root. Who taught us how to give a proper apology? Who showed us and modeled actual forgiveness without punishment? Because where I grew up, it was pretend forgiveness, right? It was, I say I forgive you, but I constantly punish you with my actions afterwards. I hold you emotionally hostage to what you did, but I verbalized that you were forgiven, and it was all a fallacy. It was all a lie.
Yeah. Because something else happened again. You know what I mean? So it was just a cycle.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. And since we're talking about positivity and emotional baggage, many of us can't forgive. Many of us hold grudges. Many of us think that we forgive because we said the words, I forgive you, or we claim we accepted an apology. But we have to understand that we didn't grow up in situations where apologies were actual real because they would change behavior. They were just It was just words.
Yeah. And I think I do try to go back to the root of what it is. It's hard because I'm 40 years old. So I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of set in my ways. Like now, you know what I mean? Like, how am I gonna change because it's just like drains my life sometimes to really just humble myself and be like, listen, it's not you. Like you actually might be a hot mess though, but then there's ways that I could respond to this better.
Right.
You might actually be ignoring me, but I could respond to this better. You know?
You might actually be doing the thing that I actually think that you're doing, but the reason and intention behind it might not be what little Toya thinks it is. It might not be because I'm not enough.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It might be you're actually busy today.
Right.
It might be your phone actually died. It might be that I just wasn't a priority today because life is taking place and I should learn how to be okay with not receiving a reply within 10 seconds of my initial text or my initial call.
Right.
Like, I have to learn how and why I feel not enough if I'm not replied to in 10 seconds. What is it about me that makes me feel that your actions of not being at my beck and call tells me that you're either not a good friend, not a good lover, or someone that's telling me that I have no value?
Right. So once we start to get through those things and say someone was to come to you as a client and is looking to release this emotional baggage so that they can live their best lives, what have you seen? What have you seen that has worked for your clients? So that people can get an idea of what are the tools that people have used that has helped them?
Great question. Well, first, you have to go to someone who actually assesses you. Let me say this about therapists and life coach and counselors and everybody who is now in this saturated self-help field. You cannot go to someone and sit down to talk to someone this live or virtually who has not asked you questions, who has not sent you a questionnaire, who has not done preliminary intakes for you, right? Because that is so important, Toya, because how do I know what we need to work on for your emotional baggage, for your emotional health, if I never ask you, what is emotional health to you? What do you need to work on? Why are you here? Why are you here? And then in my questionnaire, I always ask what's your learning style and what's your love language. You know why, Toya? Because if I give you an assignment or I pull up a tool for someone who's a writer, right, and it has nothing to do with writing, how am I helping you?
Right.
So to answer that question, every client is different based on their learning style and their love language. Some people are auditory. So if I give you an assignment and you're auditory, it might be music related. I might tell you to dig up a few songs. Give me your top 3 songs that express how you feel for people who say they can't express their emotional baggage.
Right.
If it's about getting you to learn how to release, because that's what emotional health is. So I don't know if you know, emotional health is the ability to accept how you're feeling and express it. That's what makes it healthy. I have emotions. I'm not running from them. I'm not hiding from them. I'm not blaming everybody else about them. I'm processing them myself. So if you came to me as a client and you said, I don't know how to process, I'm just angry, it's fight or flight, it's one or the other, I blame everybody, I'm a victim. After we do your learning style, after we do your love language, if I find out it's auditory, I'm going to say, find 3 songs, just as a preliminary, to express how you feel to say, for instance, this relationship that you're hurting over. Tell me what he or she did and how you feel about it. Since you can't say it, sing it, right? You have to go to people who give you tools and assignments that speak to how you learn, how you educate, and how you communicate.
Okay. All right. I wonder if I'm auditory or I don't know what I am. I have to figure out what I am.
Well, why don't we go online and take the free test to find out what your learning style is? Because that's important in communication. So many of us, Toya, have unnecessary emotional baggage because we just don't know how we communicate. Or better yet, we don't know how our children communicate. We don't know how our men communicate. We don't know how our girlfriends communicate. And we're wondering why we're hitting a wall every time.
Right.
I'm talking to someone who doesn't process with auditory, but he's a writer. He loves poetry. Write him a letter. You see what I'm saying? This person is about nature and earth and plants. So when you speak to them, you have to have metaphors and parallels that they can understand. So speak with a green thumb. So you know when you're planting in the garden and you have to use soil and have an analogy that speaks to the person's education and how they receive. If not, you're talking to a wall.
Yeah. I mean, that's dope. I gotta wait for LaFons to come back from 7-Eleven to ask him, you know, if he's auditory or not. I don't know yet. But I feel like I might write LaFons a poem. We'll see when he finally come on back home. But we could start talking about some different types of friendships and relationships. Especially like I'm watching Insecure. Are you watching Insecure?
You know I'm watching Molly and Issa go at it.
Yes, I'm watching Insecure. And guys, if y'all have any questions for Stefanie, please feel free to just drop them in. She don't mind answering questions. I'm also going to put her Instagram up here, guys, so you guys can follow her. It's BLKNY, right?
BLC. NEWYORK.
Okay. BLC
New York.
New York. So anyway, so for those who haven't been watching, Insecure has been really interesting. They have been touching on LaFonz. Yes. They have been touching on friendships and how friendships are strange. People grow apart from each other, and the lack of communication. So I've basically been saying that I feel like Molly is toxic. A lot of people don't feel like Molly's toxic. I don't like her.
You don't like Molly?
I never liked Molly.
From season 1,
I never liked Molly.
Tell me why.
I just think that I just think she's a needy person. I think that there's a type of lifestyle and there's a type of life that she wants, and it's this picture perfect life. Yeah. And when it does not fit into that box, she becomes destructive. I also think that she's not a listener really, and I feel like she manipulates because she's a lawyer. Yeah. She knows how to manipulate conversation. She knows the things to say when it's time to say sorry. Yeah. And then she knows how to manipulate a situation to get her way too as well. You know what I mean? Because the way she manipulated and finagled her way out of when she sent Issa's man away last season, she finagled her way out of that. You know, so I just never really liked her. So that's just that long story short.
Even with the parking spot last Sunday, I was like, excuse me, that was Issa's parking spot.
Right. Like, I'd have been like, sis, what are you doing? But anywho,
yes.
Do you find their friendship toxic? Is that emotional baggage all over the place in that friendship?
I don't necessarily find their friendship toxic. First, let me say that I love that this season is normalizing friendship breakups because it's okay. Like, let's stay there for a second. It's okay to outgrow your friendships. You do not have to be friends with everybody you were friends with from junior high school, the block, around the way, homegirl. It's okay to no longer be friends with who you were friends with. I love that they're normalizing it. That's number one. Toxic, it depends. They have toxic moments. Sure, absolutely. Overall, do I think it was toxic over the seasons? I beg to differ. I think they had some happy moments, some positive moments, and I don't want to only focus on the toxic moments as if they weren't there for each other, as if they didn't support each other. I think that's an issue in friendships too. We like to villainize people and act as if they were never, ever there for us, as if they were never our support system. And clearly Molly and Issa have been support systems for each other. Right. With that said, Molly's...
First of all, Takia is going off.
Well, she said, I don't trust her. She's very entitled. No, you're absolutely right, Takia. She is very entitled. And Molly's communication style is judgment. Right? Molly speaks with judgment. Molly walks with judgment. And let's be clear, there are many women who do that if they made it. Right? Many women who become the doctors, the lawyers, and the ones who made it feel like they're better than people. And Molly is very entitled. Molly walks and talks with an air of judgment. And Molly's the friend, and I talk about this often, Molly's the friend who her self-worth is based on you being down, so she can say that she's the one who picked you up.
Exactly. And it's very manipulative. So I don't like the hoe. I don't like her. I don't like her.
You know what? Issa needs to understand that there's something in her that attracted that, because Issa, definitely didn't go to school as she did. Like, she didn't.
We are not hating on Molly, please.
Who's hating on Molly?
Are y'all sure y'all not hating on Molly? Ain't nobody hating on Molly.
No. If you define hate as telling the truth, then yes, I'm fine with hating on Molly. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. Issa has to, even with the parking spot, Issa constantly relents to Molly's manipulation. No, the Issas of the world have to take ownership that they allow Molly to manipulate.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about the relationship, it's toxic. It's not just on Molly's side. It's also on the receiving end of Issa's side. because you allow her. People treat you how you allow them to treat you, and Issa allows her to talk down to her. Issa allows her to judge her. Issa allows her to manipulate her. And something again as simple as a parking spot. Even the episode before that, Issa's having her fundraiser, and you come in and want to talk about Chinese Bay or Asian Bay or whoever the hell this is.
Like it's selfish. It's selfish. It's really selfish. And I was like, this is the epitome to me of someone who looks great on the outside. You know what I'm saying? But on the inside is got a hell of a lot of emotional baggage, to the point that it made me look at myself like I had to call Takia, because if people don't know, Takia Robinson is in these comments, and that's my best friend. Okay, I've been harassing her since 1997, but I had to call her. A true story. I was like, girl, have I ever been a Molly to you? Like, I don't want to ever be like that, because I know I have emotional things going on with me sometimes, and I'm like, have I ever done that? If I have ever done it, she was like, first of all, relax. You are not
calm down.
Relax. But it made me to look at myself and like, because you can't see yourself all the time. So I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
So,
Molly annoyed me because I saw aspects of my former self in Molly. A lot of people won't want to admit it. I will. I know I have manipulated situations before. I'm a strong personality.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, whether it's something as simple as going to brunch where my friends don't want to go to brunch, but I push the situation because I want to go where I want to go, right? It doesn't have to be big manipulations. We always want to put, I didn't do anything crazy. Again, the parking spot, something as simple as the parking spot is manipulation, right? So the things about Molly I didn't like, same thing you did. I had to go inward and start to assess. Like, I know for a fact I've manipulated my girls sometimes because I know that they're Issa and they're people pleasers. I know that they're not going to push the issue. So something as simple as where we go for brunch might seem small, but those little things build up to resentment. And your friendships can fall apart.
And Issa is kind of passive. I don't think I'm passive, but I think I relate more to Issa than I do to anybody else in the crew.
Okay.
But I'm not passive by no means.
You ain't no passive at all.
No, I'm not passive, but there's some things will happen and I'll be like, damn, like, why she said that to me, and I will let it flow. Like, I'll just go on to something else. Like, something weird is happening in this situation. Like, something weird is happening in this conversation, so I'm out. You know what I mean? But that's usually what I do. So I don't know if it's me being passive or me just shutting down.
Or could it be you're literally picking your battles? Like, it's not worth me actually digging deep into. Like, I'm gonna self-preserve and just remove myself from that situation because it's not that deep. It could be that deep, but is it really?
What about when you're fine? What about when you are fine with not being friends anymore? That's perfect.
That's what we touched on. It's okay. Like, you don't have to have every breakup is not a heartbreak.
Nope.
Like, again, what I love about this season is, Brittany, they are normalizing breakups with friends, and friends break up, like, and don't even sweat it. Like, so everybody's not on Instagram talking about, giving quotes and, I see who my real friends are. Not everyone's doing that. Some people are like, girl, live your life. I wish you the best. It was what it was while we were together, but it's no longer, and I'm okay with that. Normalize breakups in every area. It's okay to grow in separate spaces. You go left, I go right. If we cross each other's paths again, great. If we don't, I really cherish the time we had. That's it.
That's interesting because I have like a little quarantine crew, and that's one of the things we had talked about recently was like just breaking up with friends or distance, and they're just like, you can't take it personal. You know what I mean? Like, if the friendship grows apart, if y'all just stop talking, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing you can do about it. It hurts though. It hurts. So, but what I will do is just go vent to somebody, go vent to someone who will listen. Like, can you believe this? I don't understand. And then just go on about my business.
Well, there's also an issue with friendship that people put people in the friendship category and they weren't friends in the first place. So some people are not heartbroken because it was really an associate. It really wasn't a friend, or it was really an acquaintance. Just because we club together, just because we have CEI, common enemy intimacy, doesn't mean that we're friends. Meaning, just because we hate the same person doesn't mean we were necessarily friends in the first place. So when we start hating each other or disliking each other, it's really no love lost because honestly, we weren't really friends. So I feel like the word friend is used too loosely, and I don't play that in my life. If I call you my friend, that comes with expectations that associates and acquaintances can't meet.
Yeah. So how do you, everyone is in VIP, Jen. How do you deal with friends because again, this is dealing with processing your emotions, friends who might ghost you in a friendship.
Right.
So you won't know that, you don't know what you did.
Right.
But then there's this distance, or there's a lack of communication, or there's no communication whatsoever.
The first thing I do is take something you just said. I didn't do anything. You just said, I don't know what I did. I never think that I did anything initially. Not saying I'm perfect, not saying I didn't cause anything, but the first thing I don't do is make it about me.
Mm-hmm.
If she or he needs to go somewhere or do something, I'm not going to automatically assume that it's because of me, something I said or I did. Could it be? Sure. But I want to focus on making it about them. Now, mind you, this answer, Toya, is current Stefanie. This ain't Stefanie from 5 years ago. The Stefanie.
Well, what is Stefanie? Just humor me. What was Stefanie 5 years ago done?
Say, what the hell is this bitch problem? Like, what happened? Like, same thing you said. Like, what did I do? What's her problem? I've been a good friend to her. See, I will villainize her. I will go down the list of all the things I did for her. I'll start to put our relationship on a scale. That's what old Stefanie would do, because I would be hurt and triggered because I have abandonment issues.
Right.
I have abandonment issues from daddy issues. So I will assume that you abandoning me just like my daddy. Little Stefanie will be front and center instead of adult Stefanie. It'll be little Stefanie wrapped in adult Stefanie flesh talking about you abandoned me. That's what old Stefanie would do. Current evolved Stefanie would be like, this is not about me. And if it is, I'll find out what role I played and see if I can rectify it. And if I can, if whatever I did or said was caused too much damage, then I'll have to accept my role and move on.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's some good stuff. And again, I will probably shut down. And, I know that it's not always healthy, but that is my protection. That's how I persevere through everything. Is shut down.
Have you ever asked yourself, why do you constantly feel you need protection?
Because I believe, there's just been a lot that has gone on in my life, especially as a young girl. And you and I both have grown up in the church.
Yep.
And there was a sense of double-mindedness. Like we had to live two different lives, and we had to protect ourselves and protect our reputations and protect who we wanted our parents to see, and we protect who we wanted our friends to see.
Yeah.
So with all of that, I've always felt that I had to shut down in situations that made me feel threatened, or shut down in situations where I felt like I was going to be exposed. You know what I mean? So I feel like shutting down has just always been a part of who I am at the core.
Yeah, I relate to that. I get that. We had to wear masks. So I couldn't be the church girl in Skate Key, right? And I couldn't be the Skate Key girl in church.
Right.
I just couldn't do it. And when you grow up in religion, or even if it's not religion based, when you grow up in a household that has restrictions on it that the world doesn't abide to, even just going to school was different from being in my apartment growing up, right? So I had to become a chameleon, much like you did. And that does force you to end up morphing. That it forces you to put walls up. It forces you to do what you said and retreat. But what that does, Toya, is it doesn't allow you to really dig into your current life. And it doesn't really allow you to get the best out of your friendships when you're constantly on defense and never moving offense.
True.
Right? You're constantly moving in defense. There is no offense. So you're playing a game by yourself. You understand sports, right? So we're on a court. You're on a basketball court. You're always defending something. But when are you going to be on offense and really get into the authenticity of your friendships and yourself? And you deserve that. You deserve to be like, I am not on defense in this situation. I'm not on defense with this person. I'm getting to enjoy this relationship fully without having to feel like I have to morph into someone else.
Right. And I don't always want to be on defense. He said this church girl trauma is a thing. We need to get a Zoom call together.
Yes.
All the church girls on the live right now, raise your hand if you want to get on a Zoom call so we can process and unlearn these things.
Can I raise my feet and hands? Like tag me in.
And church boys, like it's a lot of church stuff that we just gotta process, especially preachers' kids.
Girl,
oh my God.
Both of my parents are preachers' kids. Just like both my parents are preachers, just like you, right? No, we have to. And you know, you and I have been talking about that for a long time. We was talking about doing a live Preachers Kid event, like getting some healing together.
Good. All right. Listen, we just gonna don't be surprised if you see a Zoom coming up in the next week or two from Takia to Stefanie, and we just gonna be having a conversation to process this. We might have to pull a therapist in or something.
Listen, I know a few.
Okay.
And she got her own church hurt too. And I know so it's universal, because here's the thing. We think church hurt just for our kind of church, meaning Pentecostal, meaning Baptist. No, we're talking about Catholic. I mean, there is oppression.
Yes.
Sexism and racism inside every religion. This world was not just built on racism. This world was built on sexism too, with the cloak of God. Right? With the cloak of religion. You enslaved, when you were talking to your slaves back in the day, you would only read certain passages to keep them enslaved because they couldn't read. You would use the Bible and God as a weapon. No wonder we have church hurt.
Listen, and that is what I've been processing with my therapist from day one, is that I always feel like everything I do is wrong. That's my emotional baggage.
Yes.
Core. Everything I do is wrong. This is always me. Hence why I shut down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hence why, because I'm always like, oh my God, this is wrong. Oh my God, this is everything I did was wrong. And everybody, people who know me know that I had my son at 15. Had to be, you was there. I had to get up in front of the church and do all this stuff, and then being sat down and people knowing that I wasn't able to be in the choir and I'm in the back with this pregnant belly. It was just a lot.
Yeah. And you are a young girl. You are a young girl with yet a fully developed mind. You are a young girl who was already feeling guilty. You are already embarrassed. You are already hurt for your own choices. The last thing we needed our people to do was add on top of that and magnify it. And that's what the church doesn't understand. It's supposed to be refuge. It's supposed to be my sanctuary. But every time I come in here, all you do is violate me, because I have the nerve to question what you call God. I have the nerve to seek him for myself. I have the nerve to have boundaries. I have the nerve to say, I don't want your God if your God allows the minister of music to sleep with everybody, but I'm a whore because I'm pregnant. I don't want your God.
Whoa.
I just
look to I hated the way I hated it too, girl. I blocked it all out. I know
you did, but you did have allies. You did have allies.
I did.
You had me. You had Hype, my sister. My mom was a hell of an ally for you, girl. She was cussing folk out when folk was like, "Tell your daughters don't be with her." She was like, "Mind your mother in church." You gotta leave that girl alone. But one person or two people cannot undo what a whole building of God-like folk did to you. So I'm sorry that you had that experience. If nobody ever told you that, I'm sorry that was your experience, and I'm sorry that experience still carries over for you today.
Yeah, I mean, and it still carries over, but there's no bitterness. There's no hurt anymore. It's just like that was an unfortunate thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? That was an unfortunate thing. And, at the end of the day, I start to think about how those people in the church were doing the best that they could, and they were going off of what they were taught and their fears and their insecurities and their mask. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's just, to me, I just started to process it that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. And my parents definitely held me down. They still hold me down now to this day. Ian is over there. He ain't here. Mama G, like, became their child. So it's like, my parents at the end of the day stepped up to the plate. Whether we had our good and our bad times, but they did step up to the plate and they held me down. So I was able to go to college. I was able to go to graduate school. So at the end of the day, it all had to be done. Right. It all had to be done. But it's unfortunate because a lot of us out here are suffering from emotional health issues because of church, but then there are also people who are also suffering from outside of church. This has been great. Yeah. Great conversation. Can you leave us with some? Well, first, girl, I ask people before they leave, what are you binging so we can get this conversation going? What's going on? What shows are you watching right now? Give some suggestions to us.
I just finished watching Hollywood on Netflix.
I loved it.
Was fantastic. The clothing, the makeup, the hair. I'm here for the pinup girl look. I love the drama, the eleganza. I just finished watching that. Of course, I'm watching Insecure. I mean, that's what we talked about for a few minutes. I'm also watching, because of quarantine, I got into the last OG with Tracy Morgan, and it's hilarious to me. And I never thought I would like it. I was just like,
I never find him funny.
Him nor Tiffany Haddish. I'm not a fan of either one of them, but together I literally laughed out loud watching it, and I was very surprised. So I finished all 3 seasons and was shocked at myself. So, you know, I'm a RuPaul's Drag Race fan.
I haven't watched that either. I think I probably need to pop that in the queue.
Pop it up in the queue. Yes, do that. And I'm old school. I'm watching Love Jones all the time. You know, that's my favorite movie.
Can I just say this? I'll say this publicly. I've never seen Love Jones. Like,
okay, that's fine.
Like, never ever.
If you watch it, my sister never watched it either. Ask Nika. She never watched it. She watched it and called me. She said, "Now I understand you. Now I understand who you are with all the things that you say. Now that I've watched Love Jones."
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I mean, everybody be like, "What? You ain't never see it?" So I'm like, one day I'm gonna watch it. I think the part of me don't want to watch because I don't got a Love Jones. Like LaFawn still has not come back from the 7-Eleven.
Listen, the 7-Eleven, I cannot with you. Listen, I have a boo, and let me say this to everybody who does have a boo, and I was telling Toya this before we got on. I have a boo, I love my husband and all that. I miss my alone time, okay? And it's okay to be in a relationship and still have your independence. I love my man. I do. I love my man, but I love myself too. And we no longer have the distractions of work and travel and all the things that bred distance, which allowed me to have desire and miss this nigga in my face every day. What is going on? I'm just sick of him. I'm sick of, and he's sick of me. He hear me in the room, right? He's sick of me. He's sick of me. So with that said, LaFawn, when he come back, you might get sick of him too.
Listen, LaFawn, Takia said, I'm sick of him. LaFawn is canceled. I'm still waiting for LaFawn to come on back, child. But this has been really, really good, Stefanie. I hope that this has helped people on the call to just enlighten them and aware, because this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're just making people aware of who we are, being self-aware and processing your emotions and figuring out that, yeah, you do need to get down to the bottom of why you behave the way you behave, because ultimately it has something to do with your emotions and what you've gone through in your past and what you're going through now. Yeah. So do you have any last words for us to live our best life through this crisis, through this pandemic? What have you been telling us out here?
Well, what I always say, and I call it my greatest hits, I always talk about setting boundaries. It is important to have healthy boundaries in place. You cannot have an emotionally healthy life if you do not have boundaries in place. And I'm not talking about walls. I'm talking about boundaries. There are a difference, right? Walls don't let people in at all, in, out, around. What boundaries do is it's a warning. It's a line where I'm telling you that I would not like you to cross, but you're still here. It's not a wall that keeps you out. You're still here, but you just can't cross this line, right? We have to have emotionally healthy boundaries in place. And not only physically, financially, spiritually, sexually, we have to have boundaries in place across the board in our lives so that our life can be emotionally healthy. A lot of us are stressed out and we don't have emotional health in our lives because we don't have boundaries in our life. We allow people to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, use and abuse us, and wonder why we're depleted. Wonder why we can't root anything up. Wonder why we think everything is hard, because we do not have boundaries in place. Set healthy boundaries. And if you can't, invest in a therapist, a life coach, or a counselor credentialed, such as myself, and get it done. It's possible. Hard does not mean impossible. I know it's hard to do this work. Trust me, I'm doing it as I'm helping others do it. But hard does not mean impossible. You can do it if you take action to do so.
I mean, you are just saying, I can't never get my words together like that. I don't know if it's the anxiety or what, because I be tripping over everything. That was perfect.
Thank you.
There's nothing else for me to say. And everybody can find you. Let me put your Instagram up here. This is Stefanie's Instagram, where you can find her, find information about her services that she offers. Also sign up for her website, y'all. She has a newsletter that goes out often, and she keeps us all in the know. And she also has very nice events that she does monthly. I guess we do kind of events on every now and again. But the great events, yeah. So I think that if you guys want to check that out, just hit her up, BLC in New York on Instagram. And, Steph, this has been great. I always forget to tell y'all that this is sponsored by BetterHelp.com. And if you are looking for therapy, you want 10% off your sessions, BetterHelp.com /AnalogGirl to get 10% off. So, Steph, I let you off in time to go enjoy Jill and Scott.
You sure did. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I had a fantastic time. And again, anytime you need or want me, I am here. I'm down for that Pastor's Kid Zoom too.
Oh, I'm gonna gather everybody up. We're gonna talk about this. The Priestess Kids is gonna get in the Zoom and we're gonna process. But everybody gotta go on mute.
Thank you, Toya.
All right. Talk soon.